All right, so we're heading on into our time-shifted feature match here. We've got Todd Turkey versus Niv. Oh, MTG Arena usernames.
Nice,
Looks like we've
nice.
got some
Odd turkey.
Esper Dance of the Manseer on the right for Niv versus some Gruel Aggro.
Oh, fan me down. I love the look of this Yorion deck.
We got Esper Doom notably here to pair with those
Okay.
Dance of the Mans. Got Doom Foretold for people that are not familiar with that one. We'll get that pulled up here.
I like the looks of this. To be fair, I think I love any deck with Yorion in it, so I'm a little biased, but
We see the
oh.
old 2 land 6 spell hand here, kept for Todd Turkey on the bottom.
No problem. All right.
Get that. Drew a regular land off the top. True professionalism. Again, talking about the number of lands these players are averaging in terms of actual lands. Our Gruel player here playing only 16 regular lands
Wow.
with
Okay.
looks like 7, 11 extra spell land split cards. And then our Esper Doom player here has 22 lands, but they're playing an 80 card deck.
Yep.
So
Wow.
22 is like super low for 80 cards. I mean, they've got a bunch of these split cards. They've got 8. It's so hard to
What,
count the number of actual lands in these things.
yeah, I think I see 12.
8, 12. Yeah, 12 looks great.
Yeah,
12. So 12 even might be a little on the low side.
I think so.
That being said, we see Golden Egg, Spare Supplies, and Confounding Conundrum.
Yep. And
So,
Omen of the Sea. So yeah, just a ton of just saying all I need is two to start it off is
yep.
the Esper Doom plan. But yeah, you gotta feel like that needs a little bit more lands, but we'll see.
I mean, 16 ways to see additional cards is a lot of ways to see additional cards.
Yep. Have you played too much with Confounding Conundrum up against these ramp decks?
I've not, but
Yeah.
it seems interesting in large part because it's a card that draws a card when it comes into play, so it has like a very low cost of inclusion, right? You're like,
Yep.
when this card's not good, it replaced itself and just cost me 2 mana.
Yeah. So I've played with this card in a Yorion deck as well, and I've actually had situations comes up where it helped my ramp opponent out. They got to return their double face cards late game. They returned their triomes late game, cycled them away. And it just hasn't done what I think the card is intended to do. And I don't know if it's just small sample size, but for me so far, it doesn't seem like the catch-all to these ramp decks, the
Yep.
savior we're all looking for, you know?
Not only does it allow your opponent to bounce their cycle lands in the mid to late game, but it lets them pick their spell lands back up and turn them
Yep.
into spells. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It doesn't at a glance it looked like, oh, this card can trip, so it's a free roll to include, but it has
Yeah.
a real downside to it in a lot of situations.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I think it does stop these Escape the Wilds, Genesis ultimatums. They're complete degenerate turns, right?
Yep.
You know, where they're just adding 3, 4, 5 lands. It stops that for the sense that if you play cards like Shatter the Sky in your deck and Confounding Conundrum, that after they have these busted turns, they have to return like 4 lands, and then you shatter the board, and now all of a sudden they don't have a big board and they're down to like only 3 or 4 lands, and that seems reasonable to me. But that's like the only scenario where I think it's even reasonable. And if you don't have these shatter effects and you don't have a way to clear the board, then they don't even care if they only have 4 lands because they still have Omnath, they still have Cobra, they can still make all the mana they really want.
So we see that the downside to Yorion costing 3 mana to put into your hand now being mitigated a little bit by the fact that you can also just play copies of Yorion in your deck. So that very deadly curve we saw in Standard for a long time where you play Conqueror's Death on 5 and then you Yorion blink the Conqueror's Death on 6 and just continue to bury your opponent here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's exactly what I am all about here. So I'm loving this deck from the Yorion side.
We see our Scavenging Ooze being a hungry boy there, just gobbling up everything out of the graveyard, because why not?
Why not? The one of the biggest hits this Esper deck took is losing Othakaya, though. That card was so powerful. for this deck that I tried it a little bit and it felt really hard to keep up with aggro,
Yep.
even with Shatter the Skies and stuff like that.
Yeah, the fact that you don't have that repeatable Lightning Helix effect to gain a lot of life is a pretty big downside.
Agreed.
Dude, that being said, our aggro player is feeling pretty far behind here. We killed that Yorion, but the Conqueror's Death is going to bring back the Yorion in a turn here, and now Doom Foretold putting pressure on our green-red player, keeping their board very clear here.
Yep, and just containing it turn after turn here. So this is going to be a very tough battle for Todd Turkey.
This is
7 though, so there's a possibility of something sneaking through. But
so the second Scavenging Ooze here helps a little bit. You are going to lose this Scooze to the Doom Foretold down the line, but at least now you're denying them the Yorion coming back with the Conqueror's Death.
Yeah, I guess you just have to use the Yorion in your companion zone now. That's brutal.
Gotta pay 8 mana instead of getting a free one. Yeah, life is so cruel.
Shucks.
Hey,
we're seeing Confounding Conundrum being activated, and here's a spell.
Yep, that's exactly what we talked about earlier, where the Confounding Conundrum, with that Fable passage, letting Todd Turkey pull a spell back to their hand. I don't know that that's going to necessarily be enough to pull Todd back into this game, but it is giving them a resource they didn't have previously.
Agreed. And a really heads-up play there from Niv, sacking that ECD because it's going to be sacrificed itself. I love that interaction with Doom Foretold there.
Second Doom Foretold, put the Yorion in our hand. Both these Doom Foretolds are going to gobble up both of these creatures, and I feel like we're sliding into garbage time very quickly here.
Yeah, I think Doom is really being foretold at this point. And that play is completely fine, but I'd almost be curious if playing Yorion there was still just the better play, because now you're going to start sacrificing some of these draw effects. Like you have to sack Confounding Conundrum and the Dart next turn, and then your Yorion is a little less effective. Like I said, I think both lines were winning lines there, but
yeah, definitely one of those choose your own adventure books. There's no wrong way to eat this Rhesus on the Esper side.
Yeah.
So we see here on the green-red side, we have a little bit of an adventure sub-theme in Todd Turkey's deck. That's interesting.
Yeah, and we've seen these kind of Gruel decks before. Javier Dominguez won with this style of deck. The Innkeeper is not as insane in these lists as it is in Temur Adventures, but it still serves a purpose where even if you get to draw 2 cards from it, it's good enough.
Yep. Yeah, and notably too, even though it doesn't draw a lot, it's another good enabler for Lovestruck Beast, which having a 3-mana 5/5 is a lot of upside in your aggro deck.
Agreed. I think Lovestruck Beast is just phenomenal. It's just I'm struggling to find super powerful aggro decks, but Lovestruck Beast is where I start with all of them. Yep. I love that card.
Finding that critical mass of other playable 1/1 so you can incidentally enable it after they kill his beauty is really key to enabling that card.
Exactly. No Great Henge in that Gruel list in the sideboard or anything, with Lovestruck Beast, with Questing Beast, with these powerful cards like Mammoth as well. Seems like a card that is excellent against other aggro decks. Not going to come in here, but a tool that I've been very happy with in testing so far. Something to consider for anybody who wants to do some Gruel smashing out there.
I feel like if Todd manages to lose this game, this matchup has to be pretty unwinnable. This is a very good start on Todd's side of the board. I think, especially if Todd's able to hit that 4th land on 4, this should hopefully be a runaway for them.
Agreed. But now you see a nice little new tool here in the Blood Kiss Thirst, I believe that is, right?
Blood Chief.
Blood Chief. Okay, yeah, I think that card is excellent.
It's very, very good.
I thought it was Kicker. You only get to destroy something with converted mana cost of 4 or less.
Nope.
And then it's just, Kicker, just kill anything. Unbelievable card. Yeah. I got my eye on that one moving into new standard.
The sorcery speed type line on this card, I think, is the only thing that keeps it from being this is just better fatal push in most situations. But I think even with that sorcery speed line, not needing a second enabler to kill bigger things, killing planeswalkers, killing any size things, like the flexibility on this card and other aspects, even if it's not an instant, is just very good.
Agreed. And when I look at removal right now, and I look at the most powerful decks that we're seeing in standard, you need to be able to deal with Cobra. early and often, and
Yep.
then if your removal spell is not narrow where you can't deal with Omnath or you can't deal with the bigger things, the questing beasts and stuff, then I don't want it in my deck. Cards like Eliminate, I feel like that's an
Yep.
insanely powerful sideboard card, but I lean on like Heartless Act and Thirst here to be able to answer a little bit of everything.
Yes, similar to the red spike card in a way where it's like, okay, this kills Cobra, but it's also just not dead if they don't have Cobra. So like it does what you need to do early, but then it's also flexible is the key part of it.
Yep, agreed.
We see our Todd Turkey on the bottom side of our board here. Unfortunately, missing that fourth land drop again. Um, if it'd be interesting to see if they're going to be able to apply enough pressure without those extra resources here. We see Mauling on the top side of the board here, which I expect to get cast this turn. I think this is another premium piece of removal in this format.
Yeah, that's a new one to me as well. Is that just 4 mana destroy something, or it's a tap land, right?
Yep, yeah, exactly. So,
Okay.
it's a little bit worse rate murder in a lot of situations, but, murder's close to a constructed playable card a lot of the time anyways, and the fact that it just has that flexibility to be a land is just so huge.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, a lot of these mana bases, at least from, the Omnath decks, they don't play a ton of basics. You play enough for Fabled Passage and stuff, but early on, you're playing Triomes, you're playing Pathways, and then you're getting your basics later when they're synergized with your Omnath. So I think that effectively is a 3-drop removal spell, in a decent amount of cases.
We see our Esper player here going down to 5 life. Yorion coming into play to be able to blink something. But if you're on Todd Turkey's side of the board, you're like tapping the top of that deck there. Untapped red source lets you cleave, and cleave would be very lethal.
And even just untapped land, Questing Beast is also lethal here. So, yeah, but if you do not hit it here, all of a sudden, these Yorion decks, they snowball so quickly.
You see, we're both missing a standard staple sleeper dart there with our assessment. This is one of those cantrips we were talking about that gets to go ahead and tell that scavenging ooze to, you're going to wait a turn, buddy.
Yeah, admittedly, missed that one as well.
So we hit the land on Todd's side, so we've got a lot of choices here. Kind of surprised to see Garrick. I guess the Questing Beast isn't lethal, so you want to just like go wide here a little bit. If they sweep, you have Questing Beast to follow it up, so that's fine. That's surprising. Okay, so we're playing around a sweeper by plussing Garrick, right? So this way they can't attack Garrick for 4 and then Wrath.
Yeah, just trying to keep Garrick alive and just say, I mean, okay, so here's the one thing I do like about this line is Questing Beast and then you +1 it is insanely hard to deal with. Outside of a removal, if we get a tap out from Niv, that combination of Questing Beast plus it with Garrick, no matter what, is going to be lethal.
Because that Garrick notably gives trample, right?
Yep. But the all-powerful sleeper dart is back to save the day.
So, okay, we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see that Garrick lethal that we talked about a second ago. So sleeper dart's gonna tap the scavenging ooze here, but this 1/3 does not get to block Questing Beast. So Questing Beast plus this Garrick +1 here is that 7 ball coming across here.
Yeah, really heads up play. And I mean, I guess playing Questing Beast last turn into this is essentially the same thing, but that leaves your Questing Beast vulnerable, and that is your better threat. So really nice heads up play there from Todd Turkey to even this up.
Yep, like I said, I think that +1, the turn Garrick came down when you weren't attacking with was a little bit unintuitive, but when you kind of examine that shows a good example of thinking a few turns ahead, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, excellent play there. All right, now you got to favor the Esper Yorion deck here when you're on the play, but we'll see if you can trample over here again with that Questing Beast.
So
yeah,
again,
hand at a first glance looks like a snap mulligan, but these double face cards give us a good trick as well.
The old 3-land 6 spell keep here on Todd Turkey's side.
Love it. But honestly, taking 3 from these bolt lands, not a big deal at all against this Yorion deck, and something that Todd Turkey is going to be happy to do every turn.
Yeah, I'm going to have really good sequence here. We just go 1, 2, 3 with Beauty into Robber of the Rich into Lovestruck Beast here.
Yeah. And a decent curve out upstairs as well. The one problem with Niv's hand is we don't have double black next turn unless we top deck it. So you don't want to just play a land to get Yorion into your hand. Okay, because then you're delaying the removal spells even by another turn. So a little bit of a rough spot there.
I'm into the sequencing decision from Todd's side of the board. So because they knew the 1/4 was coming, they've decided to instead deploy another 1/1 here, so that way Love Struck Beast is more likely to be able to attack the following turn. So that's I like that choice, I think.
Yeah, I think I like that as well. Unless you value the Robber of the Rich hitting stuff, because there's some decent targets. Most of the time when you're robbing the rich, when you're playing against like an aggro deck against a control deck, you usually don't have great hits, but there's so many cards that just can't trip naturally, where Robber at least is just going to maybe just draw a card when it attacks, which is a good rate.
So one thing that's actually really kind of neat about Robber, what's the template on him? Does Robber let you play... You may spend mana. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to look up on Robber here is if you hit a land spell split card with Robber,
can you play a land?
You cannot play it as a land, because notably the keyword here is you may cast that card. You can't play that card.
Yep, so, exactly. So, and I mean, there's a decent amount of wordings like that for these flip lands. Uro, when you play that and you put a pathway into play, you cannot put the other side of the pathway because you're putting this land into play.
Yep.
You cannot put these flip cards into play off Uro as well. So a decent amount of restrictions that come with these double face cards.
We see again a good read from Todd Turkey, expecting a removal spell here when Niv passes with all their mana up, so electing to not play the Questing Beast out yet this turn. Instead, just to get attacking with the Love Struck Beast to get the removal spell on that, and then we'll see what other 3-drop they want to follow up with here.
I think I'm inclined to, just drop another Love Struck Beast while you have the 1/1s. It's already a Mammoth, I mean, the Mammoth is at best getting to a 5/5. Of course, we can have Fable Passage and get a little higher, but I like playing the Love Struck Beast with the tokens, because if you ever run into a Shatter effect, then you cast your Love Struck Beast later, and then you don't have a 1/1 with it unless you top deck, and then you kind of hurt yourself in that regard.
Not to mention, putting the Love Struck Beast into play too means that if Niv has a Shatter, you get to draw a card from the Shatter, because you have a 5-power thing.
Yep, exactly. Ooh, there's the red source. That's big.
Okay, so we have Cleave. So the question is, do you try and Cleave this turn when there's a potential removal spell?
And I tend to just want to Cleave here, even with this removal spell. Just kill a wall and just get it on the board, present some damage. Otherwise, your post-combat threats are not that great anyways. So...
Okay, so choosing a little bit different line here, getting to push damage with the Rimrock Knight. I don't know if I love the Rimrock Knight play there, since you know that the Murderous Rider is coming down the following turn. You could use the Rimrock to punch through the 2/3 lifelinker.
Yeah, I guess Embercleave is just the punch through card of choice here.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I liked a little bit of a different line there as well, but this will play.
Now, something this does set up nicely is that now we can Questing Beast with red open and then also Cleave this turn. So we're going to get in with everything here.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice one. And this has got to be the most obvious telegraph thing, but it just comes down to the point, be like, well, beat it,
Yep, it's one of those, well, if they have Embercleave, I'm probably dead. So let's just hope that that's not the case.
Wow, so far this Gruel deck is poised to be taking this down in pretty impressive fashion here. What does that do? Doom Foretold plus Eliminate is something. Oh, actually, yeah, Doom Foretold, and then you eliminate Rimrock Knight, and then you either have to sacrifice Questing Beast or Embercleave there. I thought that would have been pretty good. I guess you just sack Embercleave and then Questing Beast tramples over for the win. So that wasn't a winning line either.
Yeah,
I think we're out. Yeah,
I think this is the old eliminate disruption. My ode eliminate here. We're gonna see a W get on the scoreboard for our green red player coming back and taking both of our post board games here.
Is that one of your requirements at the Hooglandia Open Series? Is when you're done, you have to finish yourself off here? Because that's what we've seen a large chunk of times.
Listen, I mean, if you're going to be on camera, you might as well get all of your camera time, Corey.
Hey, I like it. You gotta.
All right, and then again, just like we've been going through here, that's the end of our time shifted feature, and round 3 pairings are up. It looks like we'll have round 3 feature matches here momentarily. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna have more Magic up real soon.